I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
Show me the money! Show me the money!
UFC Fight Night, Armin Tsarukyan taking on Dan Hooker in Qatar. This is the full card predictions and picks. Let's get into it. The first fight on the night, we have Maric Boujlo taking on Denzel Freeman. Maric Boujlo, he's the undefeated fighter here coming in. He's 6-0. He's fighting out of Poland. He's 32 years old. He's 6'4", 78-inch reach. But he's been fighting cans, He's been fighting guys that are like, records of 3-5, 3 wins, 5 losses, 13 wins, 12 losses, 6-4, 2-6. But on the other hand, we have a Denzel Freeman. He's 6-1. He's fighting out of the United States. He's 34 years old. He's an ex-US Marine. He's 6'2", but he's only giving up a half-inch reach disadvantage here at 77.5 inches of reach. He's Denzel Freeman. He's going to be fit, man. He's a former US Marine. He's going to be fit. He's very much, the wrestling guy in this fight. Like, he's got more of that wrestling credential. On the other hand, we have Maric Boujlo, and he's a little bit more of a sloppy stand-up guy, But I truly believe that a Denzel Freeman can get this one done. How he's going to get it done, don't be surprised. I don't think it's going to finish in the first round. I'll be surprised if it does finish in the first round. So, Denzel Freeman in the second round finish for Denzel Freeman. But don't be surprised if it goes to the cards either, even taking the goes the distance little pick. That's not a bad pick, depending on the odds. But Denzel Freeman all day in this one against Maric Boujlo. Moving to the next fight, we have Asagid Zakgamayev taking on Nicholas Dalby. Asagid, what happened to the names like Dave and James? You know what I mean? What is going on? Anyway, Asagid, he's 22-2. He's fighting out of Russia. So he's fighting out of Dagestan. So he's fighting. He's one of Islam and Khabib boys. I have seen Islam in his corner at times. He's 31 years old. This is in the welterweight division. So he's 6'1". He's 6'1". Doesn't say his reach, but he has quite a long reach, as seen in tape. On the other hand, we have Nicholas Dalby, and he's been falling off, man. In his last fight, he got finished by Randy Brown. But yes, he had Randy Brown actually in 2 situations where Randy Brown was getting clipped. So Nicholas Dalby was, and he's the kind of fighter he'll move forward. He's a good striker at times, but I think he does too much. He does too much for very little, if that makes sense. Like, he's moving around too much he needs to calm down. He needs to calm down, pick his shots well. I think he's just too, especially at his 41 years of age, that kind of style doesn't age well at all. He's 41 years old, Again, he's just fought 6 months ago. I don't like that after a KO loss. If you're at that age, again, like a Matt Brown, all these older fighters that were, they would have like big breaks, as I believe, I think having a bigger break in between fights. Look what Muslim Salikov, look what happened to Muslim Salikov. We called it Eurosmedic first round KO. He had a 3-month in between that fight, and look how old he is, man. What are you doing? How strapped are you for cash? I think that a Zagid Zakamayev is going to get the finish here over Nicholas Dalby, and I'm going to call a second or third round finish over Nicholas Dalby. I think Nicholas Dalby is going to end up breaking here, man. He's going to break. I think he's going to get wrestled. He's just going to get grappled, and when you get taken down to the ground, it's a different fitness, man. That's why mixed martial arts is such a high intensity elite game that's going to overtake a lot of sports, if not all sports, in the next 10 years. I truly believe this because it's everything. It's all well round. It's fast twitch muscle fibers. It's slow twitch muscle fibers. It's the type of cardiovascular endurance that you need. It's everything all in one. And, Nicholas Dalby, obviously speed is the first thing to go. So, I think Azagid Zakamayev is going to be just too fast. And he's going to get the takedowns. He's going to wear out Nicholas Dalby, and I'm going to say that he's going to get a second or third round finish over Nicholas Dalby. Moving to the next fight, we have Anurulo Aliev taking on Shaq Rock. Let's just call him Rock. Shamrock. Let's go. All right. So we have Anurulo Aliev. He's 10-0, right? He's 24 years old. He's fighting out of Turkmenistan. Excuse me. This is in the lightweight division, but you know he's got a 72-inch reach. It's not showing Shamrock's reach here, but Shamrock, he's 12-1. He's fighting out of Paddy's camp, so he's coming in with Luke Riley, one of the boys. Let's go, Luke Riley, man. He's a beast. Anyway, he's training with him. He's one of his boys. He's got an absolute specimen type game on the ground. He's a very much a submission specialist. Most of, or if not all of his wins are submissions. He's coming in as the underdog here. He's fighting out of Dublin, Ireland. He's 32 years old. On the other hand, Anurulo Aliev, yes, he has a very heavy wrestling game, right? They call him, because he looks like Khabib in the face. He is no Khabib, right? He's sloppy on the feet. He sucks. Sometimes he literally tries to get the takedown moving forward with his forehead first, okay? I don't like that, man. And, he's 10-0. Yes, he's 10-0, but, his last fight was Joe Solecki. Joe Solecki was actually giving him problems. Joe Solecki is literally like an NPC UFC fighter. Rafael Alvarez, same thing. And he got a TKO win over Josh Wick in Contender Series 3 years ago. And the guy's only had 2 fights since then. So, I don't know, man. And I just truly believe that Anurulo Aliev is just mid, man. He's so mid. I don't know why people are hyping him up. And on the other hand, we have a Shamrock coming in. He's going to look hungry. This is his debut. He's coming in with Luke Riley, coming in with the fire. Those two boys, you know what I mean? I got a Shamrock by submission in the first round, man. I think that Anurulo Aliev is going to make mistakes, right? And it'll be an end of the first round submission for Shamrock, man. And it's going to kick off his debut with a bang because, he's 12-1. He's coming in as the big underdog here. He's going to come in here and he's going to prove to the people, man, that he can do it, man. He takes this shit seriously. So give me Shamrock by submission at the end of the first round. Moving to the next fight, we have a Ryan Loder taking on Ismail Nadiev. Ryan Loder. Ryan Loder's 7-2. He's got the very heavy wrestling game, man. He's not very good on the feet with his hands. His striking's below mid. He's 34 years old. This is in the middleweight division. He's got a 76-inch reach, as opposed to a Ismail Nadiev, who's got a 74-inch reach at 6 foot. Ismail Nadiev is 24-8 on his record, but at the end of the day, this guy just can't wrestle. He can't get grappled, man. He just can't. He can't. He sucks. He sucks at just being on the ground. I feel like he just accepts it. Ryan Loder is a very, very heavy wrestling game fighter, even though he doesn't have much of a good hand skill here or a striking skill, if that. I just truly believe that Ryan Loder is a very good dog to take in this fight, man. I think that a Ryan Loder has got very good wrestling, and this fight could play out very boring. It could. Ryan Loder could literally just wet blanket this guy for 3 rounds. Ishmael has left the UFC at one point. He got cut. Now he's come back. He got a win over Bruno Silva as his coming back fight a year ago. Looked pretty not that good there, and then he lost to a decision to the Iron Turtle. I don't know, man. This guy Ismail Nadiev is kind of mid, and Ryan Loder as a good sized underdog here with a good wrestling game. I've got Ryan Loder, man, and I think Ryan Loder is going to get a 29-28 decision, and it could be boring. Moving on to the next fight, he could finish. He could finish in Ismail Nadiev, man. He could literally finish him like maybe he could get a submission. Ryan Loder could definitely get the submission. You know what? I'm gonna maybe say Ryan Loder is gonna get the submission or a decision win here, man. Pick your poison. If you're going for Ryan Loder, if you're on the same wavelength as me, man, Ryan Loder just a win is a good pick, but Ryan Loder by submission, it could be a good pick too, man. Moving to the next fight, we have a Bekzak Almakaev taking on Alexander Topuria, baby. Let's go, Topuria. Topuria's older brother, man. He's coming in. He's going to get another good win here. Bekzak Elmakan. Bekzak Elmakan. Excuse me. He's 12-2. He's training out of Kazakhstan. He's 28 years old. He's still a good, good blue chip prospect, man. Like, this is in the bantamweight division, right? And it's just weird because Alexandre Topuria looks like a big bantamweight, man. Like, it's similar to his brother, man. I reckon this is Alexandre Topuria should be a featherweight, man. He's massive. He's the older brother of the two. I'll give you a little fun, little fact here, man. The Topuria brothers, Topuria is he's in my top two, man. As you can see in the cards in the background there, got some rare ones. I've pretty much almost got every Ilia Topuria card. I'm not even kidding. I've probably got one of the biggest Ilia Topuria UFC card collections in the world. And I started in 2022 when people didn't realize who he was. That's what gave me the edge in the collection. But I'll give you a little fun, cool story. The Topuria brothers, when they were 8, I think they moved to Spain, try to, whatever. When they were 13, when they were walking to school, I think they were probably 12 or 13. Dude, they used to get jumped by kids. These two boys, the two Topuria brothers, man, they used to get jumped by kids. And, Ilya once said something he said, if you got home with your pants in your belt, man, you won the fight. You know what I mean? And I bet any money, these kids were 12, 13, getting jumped by groups of 4 or 5 kids, and they're beating their asses. You know what I mean? So these guys are like the Diaz brothers 2.0, on steroids. You know what I mean? These guys are just the beasts. You know what I mean? They're beasts. But I think Alexandre Topuria in this fight, Bekzak Elmakan, he is good at grappling. He's good all well round, and he's pretty quick, man. He's quick on the feet. He's got good sound striking, good sound kicks, good sound on the feet. Alexandre Topuria, he's got very much that Ilia Topuria, his younger brother's style, as obviously, good boxing, very, very good boxing, heavy hands, sits on his punches, Greco-Roman wrestling, background. But, I just think that Alexandre Topuria is going to outmuscle a Bekzak Elmakan. And it could be competitive, man, Topuria, but I think Topuria is going to get it on the cards here. I think he's going to get a possibly, a 29-28 decision. One judge might have it a 30-27. But yeah, I've got Alexandre Topuria by a competitive decision over Bekzak Elmakan. I think Bekzak Elmakan's going to make it, he's going to make it hard, I think because of his quickness on the feet, and his fight IQ. Bekzak Elmakan's got a good fight IQ, but I've got Alexandre Topuria on decision. Moving to the next fight, we have Akiriji Oruchi taking on Tigir Ulanbekov. Akiriji, he's a veteran. He's a UFC veteran. He's fighting out of Japan. He's 34-5, but yet it says that he is 18-2, which is totally weird. So it says on Tapology he's 34-5, but he's actually 18-2. I don't know what kind of record he has, but I know that he is a UFC veteran. He fought Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse submitted him in the 5th round. He's fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida. He's 35 years old, so they're both pretty much a similar age. It's a hard one to pick because Kikuchi, he's just very much like that. He'll find his shots. He'll pick his shots, from the outside. He's an outside fighter. He'll pick his shots. He's very good at kind of doing that, and he's got a good grappling sense. Obviously not to the same caliber as a Tigir Ulanbekov. Tigir Ulanbekov, he's 17-2. He's fighting out of Russia. This is at flyweight, so he's 5-7 as opposed to Kikuchi, who is a 5-5 in height. So Tigir Ulanbekov's got a 5-inch reach advantage over Kikuchi. Kikuchi's going to need to, if he's the kind of guy to, fight at distance and he's already losing 5 inches of reach, I think this is going to be a very competitive fight, and I don't blame anyone who's going with the Japanese fighter here, man. The Japanese veteran, he's coming back to the UFC. I just think that, and I saw earlier that he just arrived, to the event. He just arrived at Qatar. Sorry, excuse me. And I don't like that, man. I don't like at least be there 2 weeks in advance. Trying to just adapt. Tagir Ulanbekov's been there, for however long he's been there, just settling in. But it is going to be competitive, and because Tagir looked like absolute horse pucky against Azmat Maxim, and look what happened to Azmat Maxim, in his last fight. So Tagir Ulanbekov. Very competitive fight. I think a Tagir Ulanbekov, even with maybe a 30-27 fight, on the cards, but it's going to be a competitive all round. So, Tagir Ulanbekov, I truly believe he might end up getting every round, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy in this fight, So I got a Tagir Ulanbekov. He's a well all-round fighter, good wrestling, good grappling. I think he's going to lean on it here. I think, but there could be moments, Again, it actually could be like the kind of decision where you're sitting back and you see people saying it's a robbery to Tagir. Karuchi should have got the decision. You know what I mean? Just because they're in Qatar. That's how close it might be. One judge, obviously, 2037, as I said. But you're going to be like, what? How did that guy get a 30-27? Kyoji obviously had one round there. It's going to be one of those decisions. I can already see it. But yeah, give me Tagir Ulanbekov on decision. Moving to the next fight, we have Abdul Rahman Yakiev taking on Rafael Sequeira. Rafael Sequeira, he's got a glass chin. He's got a glass chin. He's 11-3. He's looked like absolute trash in the UFC. He's lost every fight. Ibo Aslan KO'd him. Modestus Bukauskas KO'd him. And Julius Walker, I don't know, that guy's an NPC. He's a big underdog here, as he should be. He's 35, and he's taking on, a Turkey phenom in Abdul Rahman. And I think that Abdul Rahman is going to absolutely destroy him in the first round. It could be in the second, actually, to be honest. Rafael Sequeira could make this competitive. Just because he knows that his career is on the line here. This is literally his last fight. If he loses this, he's literally out. He's gone. Get him out of here. He's out of the door. You know what I mean? So, give me Abdul Rahman by first or second round finish. Moving to the next fight, we have Luke Riley taking on Bogdangrad. Luke Riley, man, I've been waiting for this guy to come into the UFC. I was going to make a rookie, God tier rookies list. Rookie series on this Luke Riley, and I am. I'm going to put it out in the next couple of days. Luke Riley, very good all-round, man. He's 11-0. He's undefeated. He's fighting out of England. He's 26 years old. He's 5'9", in height. Doesn't have his reach here, but I'm sure he's got a little bit of reach, He's probably got a little bit more of a longer reach in 70 inches of reach against the Bogdangrad. Bogdangrad, he's very, chunky. I feel like he's kind of like the kind of guy that would literally slow down even if it got to the third round here and Luke Riley would just overtake and just finish him. But I honestly truly believe that a Luke Riley is going to get a first round finish over Bogdangrad. I think Bogdangrad's getting clipped here, man. I think Luke Riley's going to beat him to the punch. Luke Riley is going to beat him to the punch and knock out a Bogdangrad. I'm going to say it's going to be in the first 2 minutes of the fight. Give me Luke Riley in the first 2 minutes KO over Bogdangrad. Bogdangrad, he's 15-3. Look, he's 15-3. He's 30 years old. This is a featherweight, but I just don't believe that a Bogdangrad is just any that good, man. He's a very much of an NPC UFC fighter, you know what I mean? And I think a Luke Riley is going to beat him to the punch. It's going to be fireworks here. In the first 2 minutes, I think Luke Riley's going to want to go out there, make a statement, and give him. I'm going to say that he's going to get a KO win in the first 2 minutes. Give me Luke Riley by KO in the first 2 minutes. Shamrock's going to get a submission in the first round against his opponent too. Let's go. I think these two boys are going to get first round finishes on this card, man. They're going to go out there and make their statements, man. I believe that. I truly believe that. Moving to the next fight. Moving to the main card, we have Alex Perez taking on Asu Almabayev. Alex Perez, he's been around forever in the UFC. Somehow this guy still is clinging on to life in the UFC in his career. In the last 5, he's only had one win. In the last 4 years, he's had 5 fights. He's only had one win. He's 35-9. He's 33 years old. This is at flyweight. He's very much a gritty fighter, man. He's got that Mexican style. He's 5'6" at height. But on the other hand, we have Asu Almabayev, and he's 5'4" with a 65-inch reach. So they both got the same inch reach, but Asu Almabayev is 2 inches shorter than Alex Perez. And one thing I say, when you see a guy that's shorter but got a longer inch reach, you best believe that he's probably got a better striking game. You know what I mean? Asu Almabayev, he's 22-3. I think this is just it's almost like, I think it's a layup for Asu Almabayev, man. I think Alex Perez, he's done his time. He's worn down. Again, yes, he could go out there and fight like his career's on the line, because it is. I said that with Slava Claus in his last fight. He went out there and he made it competitive. The amount of people that were saying that Slava Claus was going to get finished. Dude, I just made like a quick pick on the spot, man. I was like, dude, if you're just going to pick anyone out of Slava Claus and the other dude, like Slava Claus is like almost 3-1 dog, man. And like he made it competitive. You know what I mean? He didn't get taken down and just destroyed in the first round. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, in this fight, Alex Perez, he could just literally get mowed down here, man. I'm not even kidding. Like Asu Almabayev could mow this guy down, because Asu Almabayev, very good all around. He kind of reminds me of a Big Mac Almabayev. No, he kind of reminds me of a Bekmak, the guy that was just before. Asu Almabayev, he's good all round, man. He's good on the ground. He's like got crispy striking, And I'm gonna say he's gonna clip an Alex Perez and beat him to the punch again. I don't know, but then again, Asu Almabayev, it could be a decision win. Nevertheless, I've got Asu Almabayev to win in this one. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard. I think if he gets the finish, it will be a TKO. But nevertheless, I've got Asu Almabayev to win against an Alex Perez. Moving to the next fight, we have a Shamil Gatsiev taking on Sergey Spivak. A Shamil Gatsiev, the GOAT blob himself, the guy that literally is, I think he has the record in the UFC for the closest fighter to have a cardiac arrest in the fight. I'm pretty sure, yes, that was against Jezio Rosenstrike. I'm pretty sure he almost actually had a cardiac arrest, not even kidding. And we almost saw it live on television. But nevertheless, he's fighting a Sergey Spivak, and Sergey Spivak is 17-6. He's fighting out of Moldova. He's 30 years old. He's 6'3". He's got a 78-inch reach. Now, a Sergey Spivak, he's kind of all right all around. I think he wants it more to the ground. But a Shamil Gatsiev, he's 14-1. He's fighting out of Bahrain. He's 35 years old, almost 36. But this is at heavyweight, so heavyweights can age a little better in the fight game than most divisions. He's 6'4". He's got a 78-inch reach. I think that a Shamil Gatsiev is going to start piecing up on a Sergey Spivak. Now, the first look I had when I looked at this fight was, wow, Sergey Spivak could actually make this competitive, man. He really could. He could wear on a Shamil Gatsiev. But at the end of the day, I think a Shamil Gatsiev is just going to be a little bit too crafty with his hands. And I think both of these guys are going to lock horns. And I think a Shamil Gatsiev can definitely defend the takedowns, because a Sergey Spivak is going to want to take it to the ground. I think that's his key to victory here. But a Shamil Gatsiev is going to defend the takedowns. And I think he's going to clip a Sergey Spivak when they, disengage in the clinch. So I got a Shamil Gatsiev by KO. And, I think it could be at the end of the first round or the second. Moving on to the next fight, we have a Jack Manson taking on a Metabek Oralbai. Jack Manson's coming down in weight, and, he's 24-9. So this will be at welterweight. It's at welterweight. So he's coming down in welterweight. He's coming from middleweight to welterweight. This guy is a little older, so he's 37 years old. I think that Gregory Rodriguez kind of broke him, and he's kind of gone salty. He's kind of gone, you know what? Like you paired me up with a Gregory Rodriguez that kind of weight bullied me. All right, I'm going to go down and weight. I'm going to see what I'm going to do there. And I think that's going to backfire on him, man. I don't think that at 30 or almost 38 years old, he's halfway to 38, cutting down to welterweight is going to do any good for you, man. Like, at the end of the day, when you age as a fighter, speed is the first thing that goes, man. And, you're fighting a guy in Metabek Oralbai. We all know that Jack Hermansson's he's the kind of guy that wants it on the ground, right? Clearly, he's gonna be the one. He's gonna want the fight to the ground. But you're gonna have to outmuscle a Metabek Oralbai, the guy that was still he's 10,553 years old. This guy literally still is living in his cave, in Kyrgyzstan. He's 27 years old. That's a lie. He's 10,583 years old, 100%. The guy's 14-2. He's 5'10". He's got a 74-inch reach. I think that a Metabek Oralbai is going to be way too fast for a Jack Hermansson. I think he's going to be able to defend the takedowns, and he's going to beat Jack Hermansson to the punch. He's going to piece up a Jack Hermansson. This could be competitive, but I think that it's going to be a second or third round finish for Metabek Oralbai. And yeah, I think Jack Hermansson is going to end up realizing that shit. Like, you can't just cut weight like that at this age. Your speed's going to go, man, and his cardio is going to go. I don't think. Look what we just witnessed with Islam going up in weight. He still looked good. He went up in weight. The guy that gave Islam his hardest test was Volkanovski, who went up in weight. Go check out my video. It was kind of sloppy, but it was my first little attempt at a tiny little documentary. I kind of shut the bed there, but whatever. I still made it, and I knew Islam was going to out-grapple and outmuscle JDM, because he went up in weight. You feel healthier when you go up in weight, man, especially when it's at your natural weight. Islam's 88 kilos walking around. Jack is 86 kilos walking around? You know what I mean? It's Islam's natural weight, man. Jack Hermansson, what are you doing? Your natural weight is middleweight, dude. What are you doing? Absolute rookie error by Jack Hermansson. I think Jack Hermansson's going to get finished in the second or third round against the Metabek Oralbai. Oralbai, he's very good all round, good striking, good on the ground. And, he's over 10,000 years old, clearly. Moving to the next fight, we have Volkan Oezdemir taking on Alonzo Menafield. Volkan Oezdemir, he's 20-8 in his record. He lost a decision to Carlos Ulberg. That's no shame there, man. He's 36 years old. This is at light heavyweight, and he's fighting out of Switzerland. Very good hands. He's got a 75-inch reach, and he's 6'2". But Volkan Oezdemir, one thing that stands out to me is his boxing, man. His boxing. He's got good power in his hands, and he's got good. He likes to pick his shots well, man. I love Volkan Oezdemir's hands. He likes to pick his shots well. He can truly pick apart Alonzo Menafield here. Alonzo Menafield, he's 17-5. He won against an Umar Sy, but Umar Sy is no Volkan Oezdemir when it comes to the feet, like with his hands. If you've got some sort of takedown defense, which I believe that Volkan Oezdemir does have, I think that a Volkan Oezdemir can just pick apart an Alonzo Menafield. A slow cook him, man. He's going to slow cook kill him. A slow cook kill, man. A Volkan Oezdemir by slow cook kill. You know what I mean? Alonzo Menafield, he's 38 years old. I don't know. Yeah, he's got a 76-inch reach, so he's got a 6-inch reach advantage over Volkan, but I think a Volkan Oezdemir can kind of keep at range and pick his shots and slow cook kill an Alonzo Menafield, man. I truly believe that. I think Alonzo Menafield's going to get pieced apart here. Picked apart on the feet. Volkan Oezdemir is going to pick his shots well on the feet with his hands. Nice boxing. And I'm going to say a late second round finish for Volkan Oezdemir. Alonzo Menafield is going to take too much damage, but I got a Volkan Oezdemir by TKO or KO over Alonzo Menafield. Moving to the next fight, we have Bilal Muhammad in the co-main event against Ian Machado Gary. I'll say it here right now. If you're not barracking, if you're not going for Ian Gary right now, right, against a Bilal Muhammad, you are an absolute peanut, okay? What kind of person do we want to fight Islam at welterweight? Do we want a Bilal Muhammad fighting out of United States? He doesn't even fight out of Palestine anymore. Or do we want the Ireland's own Ian Gary? You know what I mean? It's going to be a Khabib and McGregor 2.0, man. Ian Gary versus Islam at welterweight for the belt. Dude, McGregor would literally come in. I guarantee. Could you imagine a McGregor, right? A McGregor coming into Ian Gary's corner, right, with the Tudor Box, team, whatever, against an Islam with Khabib in their corner. Do you know that's hype. That's hype right there, man. I'm going with Ian Machado Gary, man, and I've been backing him the whole time. Before my YouTube channel, I remember when people were talking shit about Ian Gary, man, talking shit about his misses, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a bit weird, whatever, but like, that's how much of a man Ian Gary is. He didn't give a fuck, you know what I mean? He doesn't care. Like, having his, nutritionist that dated his misses, like, who gives a fuck, bro? Like, that's like, he's just like, I don't know, like, people were talking shit about him, and his mentality, Ian Gary's mentality, kind of, I know is dialed into the point where it gives me those vibes where I truly believe he will probably be a champion one day. You know what I mean? Whether Islam just vacates the belt, or whether again, as I said, Ian Gary taking on Islam for the belt. Ian Gary's got McGregor in his corner. Islam's got Khabib in his corner. That would be insane. That would actually be hype as. But again, I don't think we're going to have to see how he does against a Bilal Muhammad. But, I don't, at this point, I think that an Islam against an Ian Gary, if Ian Gary gets a statement win over Bilal here, too strong. I think maybe he might be too strong, but Ian Gary has been showing that his takedown defense is, I reckon he's way better than JDM's takedown defense, man. JDM got taken down by old mate. What's his name? The guy, the friggin' in the Apex, man. He just got taken down straight away. Basil Hafez, man. Like, what are you doing? But anyway, Ian Gary knocks out Basil Hafez, to be honest. But Ian Gary, 16-1. He has been going on a decision streak, Neil Magny decision. But he's such crafty on the feet. He's very long. He's got good kickboxing. On the other hand, we have Bilal Muhammad. He's very blocky. He's very clunky with his strikes, with his hands. He doesn't have Canelo hands, man. You're not flowing. You ain't flowing. You know what I mean? You ain't flowing. You ain't flowing like this. You ain't doing that. You ain't flowing, dude. Like, what the? You ain't. You're clunky. You're very clunky, and that's why I think Ian Machado Gary is going to piece up a Bilal Muhammad, man. It could be a decision win. It could be a late stoppage. I think Bilal Muhammad could end up just getting popped on the feet. But I got Ian Machado Gary all day in this fight, man. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think Bilal Muhammad maybe took too many shots against JDM, man. You know what I mean? And his chin's getting there, and it could almost be cracked. But nevertheless, I got Ian Gary by TKO decision. Moving to the next fight, we have Arman Tsarukyan taking on Dan Hooker. This sucks. My heart's saying, and I'm going to be going for Dan Hooker, but this is a prediction video. This is picks video, predictions and picks. What are you doing? Yes, obviously, if it's good odds, you'd pick that guy, but, the other guy could win, but, it's a 50-50, and this guy's paying 3-1. Yeah, that's good picks. This is a prediction video, right? And I'm going to do my picks at the same time, but Arman Tsarukyan, I'll try and implement that more, but Arman Tsarukyan, he's very heavy-handed, good takedowns, good grappling. We've seen Dan Hooker break against thick dudes that have good grappling, good takedowns, you know what I mean? And he's very lanky, man. Once this guy gets taken down, Islam, what did he, Kimura him? Islam just Kimura Dan Hooker. He just grabbed his, long arm and just almost, snapped it off. I truly believe that Arman Tsarukyan is going to take down a Dan Hooker, and he's going to get a finish. I think, and Arman Tsarukyan is going to get a second-round submission over Dan Hooker. That is what I think. Or a, competitive decision. It could be either one, but, I think I've got an Arman Tsarukyan by second or third round submission over Dan Hooker. I think he ends up, wearing on a Dan Hooker. He ends up taking him down. Maybe Dan Hooker shucks some of the, takedowns in the first round. Maybe he defends him well, maybe sometimes, but I think that eventually Arman Tsarukyan is going to wear him down. again, Arman Tsarukyan, he stopped a Joel Alvarez on the ground. You remember when he just was elbowing Joel Alvarez on the ground, just breaking him, opening him up on the ground, like with those nasty elbows. And who's got the same style, same body shape as Joel Alvarez? That's Dan Hooker, man. And I truly believe an Arman Tsarukyan is going to break it, Dan Hooker. I don't want it to see it happen. My heart's going to be barracking for Dan Hooker. But at the end of the day, I just think that an Arman Tsarukyan is going to be a little bit too much on the ground. I think he's been sharpening his ground skills, his grappling, and I think that an Arman Tsarukyan is going to get a second or third round submission over Dan Hooker. He might even go out and try and do it in the first round, try and just beat Islam's. Because I'm pretty sure Islam did it in the first round against Dan Hooker, Kimura him. But, and nevertheless, I've got Arman Tsarukyan by submission over Dan Hooker. This is Punches and Profits. This was the full card predictions. Subscribe for more. I'm out. Peace.